Y'all by way of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. Let's get this John 5:39 on out the way. Let's get it popping. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me, that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. Another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that come from Elohim only? So we were talking about that seed, separated seed, and we were talking about a few things, and we didn't get to all the way to it. So we need to go back to Genesis chapter 27. You know, that's what we need to go back to. And remember, all this stuff is stemming from Exodus chapter 33. Yes, Lizzie.
Provided in high definition by freeconferencecallhd.com. Please announce yourself.
All right. So we gon' cause everything we hold on. Let me call her by too. Yeah. No, I ain't know the call drop. Kira just tagged me in the comment and the inbox message in the chat for me to know that. Yeah, I ain't know nothing about that. So we back to Genesis chapter 27. We stopped at Let's go.
Come on. Let's go.
Calm down, Elizabeth. We still picking up at verse 18.
Let's go.
Like you won't put in the house again?
Yep.
He came unto his father and said, My Abba. He said, Here am I. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his Abba, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou bade me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may baruk me. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yehuda Elohim brought it to me. Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother's Esau hands, so he baruked him. Let's look at something in Hebrews chapter 11 real quick. Let's see something, right? So we say that the father Isaac could not discern whether who it was or not, but he bestowed the blessing upon him regardless. We're going to go to 11 and 17 of the epistle to the Hebrews. That's what we're going to do. 11 and 17. Hold on, I'm trying to find a word really good. No, and that was the word for discerned is what I was looking to find. That word is nakar, and it's to recognize, acknowledge, to know, respect, to discern, or to regard, or to be recognized, or to be willing, or to acknowledge, or acknowledge with honor. So keep that in mind. He acknowledged. He wasn't able to discern of who he was about to honor. And we're about to see that in a moment. 11 and 17 though. By faith Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son, of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called, accounting that Elohim was able to raise him up from the dead, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. By faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. So before we go any further into Genesis 27, we have to look at what he means when he said he blessed them concerning things to come. Romans chapter 9. Because the same thing about blessing somebody with concerning things to come are pertaining to even what we just read in the 5th chapter of John, when he stated plainly and clearly that you will not come to me that you might have life. See, the thing that more people sit back and look at is, he said, if another come in his own name, him you will receive. He said, I come in my Abba's name and you receive me not. See, Jacob knew the only way he was going to be received is he had to come in the name of Esau. He had to come in the stead of another to be recognized with honor by the Father in order to be able to receive this blessing. We have to come in the name. This also which you should pay attention. And remember, this takes us back to what we were dealing with Job, and that his friends had to come into the name of Job, in Job's name, and Job had to come to the Father in their stead for them on their behalf in order for them to be accepted. He was not going to accept anyone but Job. Isaac wasn't going to accept anybody but Esau. The Father has accepted no other sacrifice, which we're going to see in a moment when we read this Romans 9 and revert back to the Epistle of Hebrews. He has accepted no other sacrifice but the sacrifice of Yahushua HaMashiach. Therefore, if you do not come as Yahushua HaMashiach, then you will not receive the blessing, and therefore you will be rejected as Esau, because in reality and truth, you have despised your birthright and sold it, even as Esau did. And this is something that we have dealt with in the past. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. Some of you, well, you two don't know that. There was a time period where we didn't have the ability to record on Shabbat day. You know, and there are numerous things that we went over in that time period when we didn't have that ability, that never made it on tape, that I couldn't even closely recall the things that we went over in that time period where none of these things were on tape. You know what I'm saying? But I know that we have dealt with this matter with Esau despising his birthright and not to be like Esau. Now you can look at it on the spiritual aspect and look at it as Yahushua despising his birthright to come down because it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, so that he may pick that birthright up again and disperse it amongst his seed. Or as we know, that is the Zerah, which is this you can see the dang, I was just stick my hair. It's just like seriously in my brain, and now it's gone. Hold on. And so we know what that is. That's going to be the you see the head sacrificed. You know what I'm saying? We know that we can see the seed is only the ones who are able to see him sacrifice or to behold the wondrous things out of the Torah. You know, everybody is not going to have that. We talked about that a little bit last Shabbat when we came about the things who people who were chosen to be witnesses, and we have more things to attend to that. Because I can tell you from probably like this here, I'm finna just start flooding stuff and reverting to a different time period. 9 and 7 Romans. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of Elohim, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. And see, this is the difference. They're the children of the flesh. We're going to pause. Let's go to Galatians chapter 4. Galatians chapter 4, and then we will revert to Hebrews chapter 12. In Galatians chapter 4, verse 28. Because now I gotta start cleaning this whole thing up. If y'all willing, if I don't get to the prisoners this week, it will be next week. To finish that out, we gotta start cleaning up everything we've done here. Now, brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of the promise. But as then as he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the ruach, even so it is now. And nevertheless, what saith the scripture? Cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free woman. So then, brethren, we are not children of the bondwoman, but of the free. Now, we might as well just to make sure y'all can catch it. John chapter 8. Now, of course, we know Rebecca's not a bondwoman, but we know that. Now he's referring to Isaac and Ishmael, but now we turn around looking at Isaac's offspring. We can see that Isaac's offspring is certainly a child of the flesh, because what dictated his decision was a bowl of lentils. He said, "What good is it for me for this birthright? I'm at the point to die." And that's where you could take it in when Mashiach say, "What profit of man if he gained the whole world and he lose his soul?" Because at this point, Esau lost his soul. He lost his strength in Elohim for a bowl of beans. Hey, man. Hey. Pick them toys up. Kicking stuff because you don't get your way. This ain't that type of party, buddy. It ain't that type of party. John 8 and 35. Get your mind right. Pick them toys up, though. That's what you do since you want to kick them. John 8 and I'm not in John 8, that's one. Verse 35, that's what it say. The servant abide not in the house forever, but the son abide forever. If the son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. See, Paul made a statement of something. Let's look at that. Pause. Romans 7 before we even get to Hebrews 12. Look at something in Romans 7 real quick. 7 and 20. Because he said, if the Son will set you free, you'll be free indeed. So we have to look at this freedom. And we can also see Esau persecuting the child of the promise. Because you got to remember, the promise to Rebekah was the elder will serve the younger. So that the blessing was always going to go to the younger. This was the promise. So Jacob is the seed of the promise. Which means he's the seed of the ruach, which is why you can read that he was a Tamaim man, a plain man, a just, innocent, and upright man, because that was the promise. That's what he promised her. Now, if I do that, I would not. It is no more I that do it, but the sin that dwell in me. I find then a Torah that when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the Torah of Elohim after the inward man. But I see another Torah of my members warring against the Torah of my mind, bringing me into the captivity to the law of sin which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank Elohim through Yahushua HaMashiach our master. So then with the mind I myself may serve the Torah of Elohim, but with the flesh the Torah of sin. So with that being said, he said, who will deliver me from the body of this death? Who will free him? And it was Yahushua HaMashiach that came to free him. It's the faith of Yahushua that come to set a man free. Nevertheless, let's continue. Now let's go look at Hebrews chapter 12. Hey, little Kelly. Hey, little Kelly. Hebrews chapter 12. Let's look at verse 13. Make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow shalom with all men in Kadesh, without which no man shall see the master. Looking diligently lest any fail of the favor of Elohim. Now we know what is grace. Grace is Khan, which is the separated seed. This man failed from to be the separated seed because of despising of Elohim and his word and his birthright. Without which no man, so lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For you know that afterwards, when he would have inherited a blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So because of his hatred for his birthright, he was rejected, and there was no way that he could turn. Let's see that in the law. Let's return. Genesis chapter 27. Oh, I'm sorry. We got to finish Romans 9. I'm sorry. We'll read verse 8 again. That is, they which are the children of the flesh are not the children of Elohim, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. So, it said that Esau was a profane person. Let's look in Greek and see what we see for a profane person. Because that's what it said Esau was. He was profane. Now, in Hebrew, that just simply means somebody who's common. But the word for in Greek is babelos. This is lawful to be trodden, unhallowed, common, ungodly. Esau is described to be an ungodly man. Now, I'm going to pull Genesis 25 and tell you the verse, and you can go look this up on your own time. And this is verse 27 of the 25th chapter, where it describes Jacob as a plain man. And the word for plain is tam, and is perfect or complete. One who lacks nothing in physical strength and beauty, sound, wholesome, or ordinary, quiet sort of person, complete, morally innocent, having integrity, one who is morally and ethically pure, someone who is undefiled and upright. This is how these two men are described. One is described as ungodly, one is described as being undefiled, perfect, and upright. So that's the part that tripped me out when people talk about Jacob being this, that, there, and the third, when the word of Elohim describes Jacob as being a just man. It describes Esau as being a cunning hunter in the same verse. That's the 25th chapter, 27th verse. This is how he is described. He's described as a cunning hunter. You know, the word for cunning is yada, and that is to know, discriminate, distinguish, or perceive, or to make known oneself. He was a known hunter. This is what he is. He's a known hunter. Nevertheless,
open the door.
Verse 9. For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Elohim according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that called. And again, this takes us back to when he said that there were men who were ordained to be witnesses of Mashiach, aforetime. Because, and this goes back to what we done dealt with before about all of my members are written in a book. See, the chosen seed has been chosen, and that's the seed of the promise. Those who are the promise will receive the promise which we talked about on the Shabbat, which is the ruach HaKadosh. They will take part in it. It said, it was said unto her, oh sorry, I'm going to read it again. For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Elohim according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that called. So again, Jacob being chosen is an example of grace. It's favor or acceptance or con, proving how he is that separated seed. There was nothing that Jacob did. Continue. We're going to continue reading. So it was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with Elohim? Elohim forbid. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that will, nor of him that run, but of Elohim that show mercy. So it was all Yahuwah's choice in order to choose Jacob to be the separated seed, as we've seen in the law on the Shabbat, for him to be able to be an inheritor of this blessing of which he had chose. So let's swing our way to look at something in the first chapter of John before we return to Genesis chapter 27. And we want to pick this up at the first chapter, and we want to pick ourselves up at probably at about verse 10. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came into his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, he gave them power to become the sons of Elohim, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of flesh, nor of the will of man, but of Elohim. And the word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his esteem, the esteem as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So we know he is full of what? Khan and Amuna. We know that this man is full of acceptance and faith. This is what he's full of. Because it said we know the law. Well, I'm sorry, we're going to drop down a little bit. I'm going to actually say verse 17. So we know that there was no acceptance and faith that came from the law that was given by Moses. It said this man was full of being a separated seed. He came to separate. That's why we looked at that in Isaiah 59. He came to separate the seed. That's why he said, I came not to bring shalom, but a sword to set a man at variance, because he came to make a separation. Man, I can't talk right now, bro. Hold on, y'all. So, with that being said, that just threw me all off. But notice that it said that those who he gave power to become the sons of Elohim, it was nothing that they did to become the sons of Elohim. It was by the will of Elohim. So it was Elohim who separates and chooses. We'll look at that in one more place in Ephesians chapter 1 before we go back to Genesis 27. One and 3. Baruk be Elohim and Abba of our Master Yahushua HaMashiach, who have baruked us with all spiritual blessings in Shamahim and Mashiach, according as he have chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be Kadesh and without blame in him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahushua HaMashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. So again, this takes us back to again what we talked about in Genesis chapter 25, that Jacob had already been chosen. It said that he was a perfect man, so he was already set apart and without blame in this man in love from the jump street. He had already ordained and predestinated that he would be a son. And he did this according to the good pleasure of his will, because at the end of the day, this is what Yah wanted to do. He wanted to be the 12 tribes of Yasharal, or the sons of Jacob, not the sons of Esau. This is what Yah has ordained, regardless of how anybody feel about it. So then it takes us back to this is what Yah has ordained for men to become the sons of Elohim. It has to be the will of Elohim for a man to receive that gift. You know what I'm saying? And it's his will, and for those who that is will, that means, like he said, you will not come to me that you might have life. But let's look at a statement from Mashiach. Let's look at that. John chapter 12 before we return to Genesis 27. And we also have to look at also the blessing that was given unto Rebekah, because we did look at that on Shabbat, to tie this in with the blessing that Isaac is going to bestow upon Jacob. John chapter 12 and verse 30. Yeah, verse 20, verse 30. We'll make it verse 30. Hello, make it verse 26. What's going on? Remember that we looked at discerning. He couldn't discern between Isaac and Jacob and Esau. And that word is nakar, which means to distinguish with honor. So he has to be able to distinguish you with honor. So when we look at it, he placed that honor upon Jacob. The same way that the Father will not be able to discern us, he'll place the honor of Yahusha upon us. But we'll look at that in a moment. Make it John 12 and 25. He that loveth his life shall lose it. He that hateth his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. See, and when we turn around and we see that, we see Esau loved his life. He didn't hate his life. He wasn't willing to lose it. That's why he wanted those lentils. If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Abba honor. Now is my soul troubled, what shall I say? Abba saved me from this hour, but for this cause came I unto this world, unto this hour. Abba esteemed thy name. Then there came a voice from Shamahim saying, I both esteemed it and will esteem it again. The people therefore that stood by it heard it and said it thundered. Others said, a Malachim spake to him. Yahushua answered and said, this voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is this judgment, is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. And I, if I be lifted up from their wrath, will draw all men unto me. All that is of Elohim, all that have been taught of Elohim, will be drawn to Mashiach. This takes us back to what we were talking about, how the law is your schoolmaster, and the things that spelt the Torah, that it points, Torah itself points to the testimony of Mashiach. Because you have the covenant. Hold on. My mind goes on like Abigail trying to escape.
Yeah, what are you doing?
So then you have the covenant,
And
then you have the nail and the head. So you have the covenant of him who's been impaled. This is what the law is pointing you to. Not only the fact that to be the seed is to be separated by the head, or separated by the hand. This is to be the seed. Already extending there, you have grace. You turning around and you looking at your separated seed, and all of these things are by the choice of Elohim. Everything that just got mentioned, whether it's the separated seed from the Khan, which is the grace, whether it's the Zorah, whether it's the Torah, with all of these things, Elohim has to bestow that level of faith upon you. Then that level of faith that is upon you will cause obedience, which we would actually see with Jacob. Y'all willing before we depart from up out of here this evening, that you'll see that the faith and the mercy and the goodness of Elohim was bestowed upon him, and this caused him to follow him and to believe on him. Nevertheless. Oh yeah, we finished that. Let's go over here back to Genesis 27. I'm going to read Genesis 24 with the blessing of Rebecca real quick, like to establish that, because that's another matter that we did not complete. And that's Genesis 24 and 60. They baruk Rebekah and said unto her, thou art our sister, be the mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them. See, let your seed possess the cities, the strongholds, the gates of everybody who hates you. This is what she was blessed with. Now we know that's the hand, that's the separated by the hand. So those who've been separated by Mashiach, the blessing is that you possess the gates of them that hate you. We know that Mashiach was already separated unto the Father. How do we know this? Pause. John chapter 10, verse 33. Make it John 10 to 30. Because remember, we sanctified by the faith that is in him. Therefore, we would be able to achieve to the same amount of blessings through him that he has already received himself. I and my Abba are one. Then the Yahudim took up stones again to stone him. Yahushua answered them, many good works have I showed you from my Abba. For which of these works do you stone me? The Yahudim answered him, saying, for a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, because that thou being a man maketh thyself Elohim. Yahushua answered them, is it not written in your Torah, I said, ye are gods. If he called them gods unto whom the word of Elohim came, and the scripture cannot be broken, say ye of him whom the Abba hath sanctified. That means he has set him apart. This is a separated seed. He is telling you, I am a separated seed, and sent into the world thou blaspheme, because I said, I am the son of Elohim. If I do not the works of my Abba, believe me not. But if I do, though you believe me not, believe the works, that you may know and believe that Abba is in me and I in him. Therefore they sought again to take him, but he escaped out of their hand. And when he went away again beyond Jordan to the place where John at first baptized, he there abode. And many resorted unto him and said, Yochanan did no miracle, but all things that Yochanan spake of this man were true. And many believed on him there. Notice that he said, if you didn't want to believe me for the works. Because the works would be bearing witness to the word. And the word would be bearing witness to Abba. Because he told you, he said, my witness is in Shamahim and my record is on high. He said, I have another who bear witness of me. So if you know the word and you saw this man doing the things that he was doing, you know his works, you would have believed the word. That's why he said, if you haven't believed Moses, then you won't believe me. Because if you haven't believed his writings, how should you believe my words? So a lot of people, when they come to Mashiach and they say, oh, it's not real, it's a Greek influenced book, the people did this, the people did that, because you don't believe the words that came before that. You don't believe the Torah, because then if you did, you would see the head, the leader, that was impaled to bring forth a covenant. Why do you think this man say, take, drink, this is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for remission of sins? He has to tell you that I'm the Torah. That's why he said he's the word made flesh. He's the Torah. He is the bar, the living word manifested, Torah in the flesh. You actually, when you sit back and you think about Torah, then you put to sit back and think on that Mashiach literally redeemed you from the transgressions of the first covenant, which is another matter which we discussed, because y'all willing, we have to start bringing all this stuff full circle that we even started in Exodus 33 before we move on to anything else, because truth be told, everything we've been looking at for the last couple weeks is really just out of Exodus 33 alone, and that's it. Straight up down, which is the renewal of the covenant. And we haven't even got to Exodus 34 when it was renewed. And we haven't even really got in depth yet about the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first covenant, because we still have to deal with that. But before we deal with that, we have to deal with the prisoner, this grace, and this seed. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. So he said, you say I blaspheme because I, whom the Father, the seed that the Father has set apart, said he the son of Elohim. Remember, you cannot be a son of Elohim unless Elohim chooses you to be. Because that's what we're seeing with Jacob. Jacob was chosen, and it said out of the womb he was a perfect man. He was a perfect man. This is what the text describes him as. Not that I describe him. This text says this. Genesis chapter 27. Genesis chapter 27, verse 25. He said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my nephesh may baruk thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he brought him wine, and he did drink. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and baruked him. See, hold on. So now I say he smelled the smell of his raiment. So now we have to pause, and we have to take a look at that.
Hey.
And we're just going to keep it simple, obviously, with smell. But when it says, and he smelled, it says the word for him, and he smelled, is ruach. And the definition that they have here is to smell, scent, perceive, odor, accept, of horse, of delight, metaphorically, quick understanding, or accept. Or, of course, we also know ruach means breath. Now, that's very interesting that when he said he smelled his raiment, that we see ruach there. And then it says the smell of his raiment, the word is ruach, and it's scent, fragrance, or aroma, or odor. And I already had it in my mind of what epistle letter would go to that, which was, truth be told, very simple. So pause, and let's look at Ephesians chapter 5 real quick. Now notice he say when he smelled him, he accepted him. So look at the difference. He couldn't discern him. But it say when he smelled him, you have ruach here. And that goes again to what we've discussed in Romans chapter 8 in verse 11. That if you don't have the ruach of the Mashiach, you are none of his. So when he went near unto him to smell him, he was able to discern the ruach of Elohim. Without the discerning of the ruach of Elohim, then you have not become a separated seed. And if you have not become a separated seed, that means you have not become a son of Elohim. And if you have not become a son of Elohim, that means you are a bastard. And if you are a bastard, you have no right to an inheritance. And if you have no right to an inheritance, you have no right to the kingdom. Which means you have right to the lake where the worm dies not, and the fire shall not be quenched. Nevertheless, Ephesians 5:1. Listen what it says. Remember what, also you have to look at, remember what Jacob brought. He brought an offering. He brought a sacrifice, and he brought blood, because he brought the wine. He brought a sacrifice and he brought blood in order to get an inheritance. You got to be able to bring a sacrifice and you got to be able to bring blood. Because if you don't bring that, then you cannot be accepted, because you won't be able to smell that ruach. He won't be able to inhale it. Be therefore followers of Elohim as dear children, and walk in love as Mashiach also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanliness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become Kadeshim. It don't become nobody who claim to be a Kadeshim to be committing no manner of fornication, no manner of uncleanliness, no manner of covetousness. That should not be named amongst you. And see, this goes again, also, Lisa, this goes again what we were talking about earlier. Certain things that you do, you don't want named amongst you if you say that you are a set apart person of Elohim, because Kadeshim is those who are set apart. So if we say that we set apart, there's just certain things that you don't want named on your name, whether it be of men or definitely if it be of Elohim. It doesn't matter if you don't feel like it's wrong, because you have to, or you don't feel like it's that big of a deal, because you got to remember who you represent. It's not about you. It's not, you're not carrying your name. He said, let everyone who named the name of Mashiach depart from iniquity. You're not carrying your name. You're carrying the name of someone else and everything that they encapsulate and represent. And we are very, very, very selfish people, because all we are concerned about is us and not the name that we're carrying. And that's the problem. That's the problem. This is what leads to the hindrance of receiving the ruach, because there's not a complete total submission, a complete total offering, the offering of one's whole life. Because remember, he said, he that hate his life shall gain it, because you will offer it, you will give it up. Nevertheless, neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man who was an idolater have any inheritance in the kingdom of Mashiach and of Elohim. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things come the wrath of Elohim upon the children of disobedience. Be not ye therefore partakers with them, knowing that the children of disobedience will not be partakers in the kingdom. The text tells you, don't be a partaker with them. Don't fool with them. This is bottom line. Nevertheless, notice how he say that's a sweet smelling savor, sacrifice. He can smell that ruach. He can accept it. That's why he say everyone who believe on him will receive that ruach. Now let's look at the next thing that we want to look at. Hebrews chapter 10. Hebrews chapter 10. Hello, Gail. We want Hebrews 10. We'll pick it up at verse 1. For the Torah having a shadow of good things to come. So again, we knowing that the Torah is seeing the head impaled, or the covenant of him who is impaled, or the covenant that the covenant brought in by the head who is impaled. However you want to put it, nail, however you want to put it, that's what it is. No matter what, it just all depends on your word choice. And not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offer year by year continually make the comers thereunto perfect. For then would they have not ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers once purged should have no more conscience of sins. But in those sacrifices there is remembrance again made of sins every year. For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and goats should take away sins. Wherefore when he come into the world, he saith, sacrifice and offering thou would not, but a body hast thou prepared me. And burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin thou hast no pleasure. Then said I, Lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me, to do thy will, O Elohim. And above, when he said, sacrifice and offering and burnt offerings and offerings for sin thou would not, neither had any pleasure therein, and which are offered by the Torah, then he said, Lo, I come to do thy will, O Elohim. He take away the first, that he may establish the second, by the which we are all sanctified through the offering of the body of Yahushua HaMashiach once and for all. So by the offering of one man, it brings about the means to be able to make you a separated seed. Because remember, he said you have the power to become the sons of Elohim who believe on his name. So if you believe on his name, that's where the faith come in at. And he said, not by the will of man, not by the blood, not by will of the flesh, but by the will of Elohim. So it's by the sacrifice of one man that causes you to be accepted. This is how you become a separated seed. So when we look at, he separated Jacob from the womb to be the carrier of the covenant and the progenitor of those afterwards. He gave those who came after him the power to become the sons of Elohim by those who believed on the name of the Elohim which he served. Now let's go back to the blessing again in Genesis 27. And we're not looking at what he said to Esau. We're only going to look at what he said to Jacob this evening. That's all we're looking at. Hold on, I'm going to look at another word for smell. So I'm going to read that 27 again. He said, he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and baruked him and said, see, the smell of my son is the smell of the field, which Yahuwah have baruked. So let we get down. And it's ruach again each time for smell of the field, which is the odor or the soothing or the scent or the smell. And he say, this is the smell of the field which Yahuwah baruked. So what is this smelling of the field? What field is he smelling? And that is a plain opposed to mountain. That word is sedate, field, land, cultivated field, flat, country, field, ground, land. But let's look at something, soil. Let's see if this is the field that he has blessed, which he has accepted. Pause from Genesis 27, John 18. When Yahushua, John 18:1, I'm sorry. When Yahushua had spoken these words, he went forth with his disciples over the brook Cedron, where was a garden, into which he entered and his disciples. So we have to remember, the Garden of Eden was the land, the soil that Yahuwah Elohim had baruked. The smell of it, the soil of it. And we see Mashiach is about to enter into a garden. He's entered into a garden himself. Let's see the next thing. Judas also, which betrayed him, knew the place, for Yahushua oft times resorted thither with his disciples. Judas, having received a band of men and the officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, come hither with lanterns and torches and weapons. Yahushua, therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said unto him, whom seek thou? They answered him, Yahushua Nazareth. Yahushua said unto them, I am he. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with him. Now you know that they bring him over to a place of Jessamine, which is also a plain. So we're going to move over a little forward on down, because we just set the stage of the events of where he is located at. And we will pick it up in the 19th chapter and the 30th verse. So bad. When Yahushua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and he gave up the ruach. So now we see Mashiach has died. And now he's made himself this offering of this sweet smelling savor, which would be accepted. Let's pick it up in about verse 38. After this, Yosef of Arithmia, being a disciple of Yahushua, but secretly for the fear of the Yahudim, besought Pilate that he might take away the body of Yahushua. Pilate gave him leave. He came therefore and took the body of Yahushua. There came also Nicodemus, which came at the first came to Yahushua by night, and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pound weight. And they took the body of Yahushua and wound it in linen clothes with the spices, as the manner of the Yahudim is to bury. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden was a new sepulchre, wherein never was never man yet laid. There laid they Yahushua therefore because of the Yahudim preparation day, for the sepulchre was nigh at hand. So in a garden where a man never was laid, they laid him into the soil. Let's pull it back and let's go back to the reverse. Genesis chapter 2. Excuse me. Two and 4. These are the generations of Shamahim and of their rats, when they were created in the day that Yahuwah Elohim made their rats and Shamahim. Every plant of the field before it was in the rats, and every herb of the field before it grew, for Yahuwah Elohim had not caused it to rain upon the rats. There was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from their rats and watered the whole face of the ground. And Yahuwah Elohim formed man out of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living nephash. And Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there put the man whom he had formed. So we see the reverse of what is occurring. This is the field which you have blessed. This is the place of where this man was accepted, whether it be the first Adam or whether it be the second Adam. And of course, you know, we dealt with being quickened, which is the kaya, which is being made alive, which is again the hand that has separated, if I'm not mistaken. So let's look at something. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 43. Might be 38 we want. Well, I got 10. Hello, Gail. Hello, Gail. Hello, Abigail. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 38, I want to say. Yeah, 38 is fine. But Elohim give it a body, as it hath pleased him, to every seed his own body. So remember, everything that's been separated by the hand. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, and another flesh of beasts, and another of fishes, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the esteem of the celestial is one, and the esteem of the terrestrial is another. There is one esteem of the sun, and another esteem of the moon, another esteem of the stars, for one star different from another star in esteem. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in esteem. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. When we turn around and we look at that, man was formed from the dust of the ground. We could see that as we looked with Mashiach being put in the garden, in the sepulchre, him being formed in the dust of the ground. But he was formed with incorruption. He was formed with incorruptible seed. He had that favor and acceptance. Where there was the difference of where Adam being formed in the dust of the ground, being made in the weakness of flesh, and not having acceptance and faith to go along with the difference between him and the second Adam. Nevertheless, it is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There's a natural body and there's a spiritual body. So when we look at Adam, he was sown a natural body and he was raised a natural body. Though Mashiach was sown a natural body and was raised a spiritual body. So that's where we can look at the difference. So when we see that he said, this is the smell of the ground which Yahuwah have baruked, or Yahuwah have blessed, because of the acceptance or the fact that he smelled the ruach on this individual, which will also take us back to him raising people from the dead, because the dead and Mashiach shall rise first. Those who have the ruach in them will be raised. Those who don't have it will not be raised. So, matter of fact, let me finish this and we'll look at something in Daniel chapter 12 and then maybe John 5 for good measure. And so it is written, the first man Adam was made a living nephash. The last Adam was made a kaya ruach, or a quickening ruach. Howbeit that it was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterwards that which is spiritual. The first man is of the earth, earthy, and the second man is the master from Shamahim. So, Daniel chapter 12, verse 2 or 3. Doggone. Doggone tendonitis, man. Daniel 12:2, actually. Actually 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which stand for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Many of them that sleep in the dust of their rest shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine at the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. So notice he said that some to everlasting shame and contempt. We got to get John 5, because we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday, on Shabbat I should say. He said that, Mashiach said he quicken whom he will. As the Father quickens, he gave the Son the power to quicken. He gave the Son the power to make you alive. He says some will come up to the resurrection of life and some to the resurrection of damnation. Why will you be? And the reason why we mention this is because is when Esau came to seek the blessing, there was no smell of ruach upon him. But there was a smell of ruach upon Jacob because he was a perfect man. He was an undefiled, just man, chosen from the beginning. Therefore, his faith in Elohim is what caused him to be able to be accepted. And when we say faith in Elohim, meaning the faith in the words that his mother spoke unto him, because his mother had heard the promise. See, I remember it like this here, right? Nobody knew the promise of Mashiach that was on Mashiach. John bare witness of him, but he didn't know the depths of the promise. Why did they think they said Mashiach? See, I'm going to show y'all something what Mashiach, they said to Mashiach. John chapter 8. Then we go back to... They said, let's see what they said to Yahushua. Let's just look at something and then let's look at what he said to them. John chapter 8, verse 12. Then spake Yahushua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that follow me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, Thou bear record of thyself, thy record is not true. Yahushua answered and said unto them, Though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true, for I know whence I came and whither I go. But you cannot tell whence I come and whither I go. You judge after the flesh, I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I and the Abba that sent me. It is also written in your Torah that the testimony of two men is true. I am one that bear witness of myself, and the Father that hath sent me bear witness of me. Then said they unto him, Where is thy Abba? Yahushua answered, You neither know me nor my Abba. If you had known me, you should have known my Abba also. Notice, again, this is taking us right back to if they would have known the word. He said, Believe me for my work's sake. If you know the word, then you would know Yahushua. And if you know Yahushua, then you would know Abba Yahuwah. And if you would know Abba Yahuwah, then you would know everlasting life. Because you believe on the person who sent Mashiach in the first place. And that faith would cause obedience. And the just, therefore, would live by their faith. Nevertheless, back to Genesis chapter 27. I will read verse 27 again. He came near and kissed him and smelled the smell of his raiment and baruked him and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which Yahuwah hath baruked. Now again, remember what we read in Hebrews 11? I'll read it again to you, just in case you don't call. He said, By faith Isaac baruked Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. So when he baruked Jacob, he was baruching him concerning the things to come, which was concerning the resurrection of the dead. Nevertheless, let's look at the rest of what he gave him. Therefore Elohim give thee of the dew of Shamahim. So give him the ruach, and the fatness of their rats, and plenty corn and wine. Give him much riches. Let people serve thee, and the nations bow down to thee. Be master over thy brethren. Let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that cursed thee, and Baruch be he that blessed thee. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac made an end of Baruch and Jacob, Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. Now let's look at something, right? He said, let people serve thee. See, we already read that in John chapter 12. He said, all men will come unto him. Everybody gotta come unto the subjection of Mashiach. But then he say, let him be master over thy brethren. If you're familiar with Luke chapter 1, you know it tells you that he would sit upon the throne of David, ruling over the house of Jacob forever. That's about Luke 1 and 33. You know, you could check that on your own time. So then the next thing he stated was, cursed be everyone who cursed thee, but baruked everyone who baruked thee. Let's look at John chapter 3, verse 14 for that. And then we'll look at how he said, let him be baruked to be able to have the gates of all your enemies. And then we will slide out of the way for the evening. We still have a little bit more to add, especially with the birthing of the seed. For we are far from finished from that matter in and of itself. Ain't what I just was looking at. Hold on, y'all.
Mommy.
Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, John 3 and 14. Just lost my train of thought. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so the Son of Man must be lifted up, that whosoever believe in him should not perish but have eternal life. Pause. Proverbs 8 real quick. Because he say, curse anybody who curse you. Bless anybody who bless you. Proverbs chapter 8 verse 33. Baruk is the hear instruction and be wise and refuse it not. Baruk is the man that hear me and watch daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my doors. For whoso find me find life and shall obtain favor of Yahuwah. But he that sin against me wrong his own soul. All they that hate me love death. Come on back to John chapter 3. See, all those that hate and love death. See, if you hate Mashiach, he said, you know, they hated me without a cause. He said, if you don't believe that I am he, you will die in your sins. See, when you reject him, see, when they put him on the stake to make him a curse, they cursed themselves. That's why they said, let his blood be on our children's children. So when we seek to serve Elohim contrary to righteousness, contrary to Kadeshness, because remember, all unrighteousness is sin. But there's not a sin. There are sins that are not sins unto death. Nevertheless, that whosoever believeth, this is verse 15, should not perish but have eternal life. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. For Elohim sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He that believe on him is not condemned, but he that believe not is condemned already, because he have not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Elohim. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone that do evil hate the light, neither come to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. But he that do truth come to the light, that his deeds may be manifest, that they are wrought in Elohim. So what do we sit back and look at and consider? That anybody who does not believe has cursed the Son of Elohim, therefore they have cursed themselves. Anyone who believes on the Son of Elohim has blessed him, therefore they have blessed themselves. This is the blessing that he has given unto his Son. See, before we proceed further, I'm going to show you how this faith has produced obedience. I want you to come to Genesis chapter 28, because I would be remiss to leave that particular matter out. We will not leave that on to another episode. This will not be on the same bat time, same bat channel. I can tell you that. Genesis chapter 28 by verse 18, 17. Now, of course, y'all know this is starting at verse 10 is Jacob's ladder, as they like to say, or the dream or the vision that he received. And we know that vision is in line with the sacrifice of Mashiach and his resurrection and ascension back into Shamahim, for him to send down the ruach to men, that men may be faithful witnesses of him. Because we know the ruach said he will bring to remembrance all things that he has said to you, and it will bear witness of him, and then you will testify of his esteem, his righteousness, and his resurrection, which brings forth remission of sins and everlasting life unto all those who believe that report. Now, nevertheless, verse 17 in the 28th chapter of Genesis, and he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of Shamahim. And Jacob arose up early in the morning, took the stone that he put for his pillows, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of the city was called Luz at the first. Yaakov vowed a vow, saying, if Elohim be with me, and will keep me in the way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I will come again to my Abba's house in Shalom, then shall Yahuwah be my Elohim, and this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be Elohim's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the 10th unto thee. So notice what he said. If Elohim be with it. Remember, this goes back to Exodus 33. That his presence will go with you. The presence is the ruach. The bread is Mashiach's body. The raiment is the ruach. And of course, you know, Abba's house of Shalom is not only Yahushua HaMashiach, but Jerusalem. Because, you know, if you receive the ruach will keep you in the way that you ought to go. Which is the rock, which is the way to the highest that covers sins, which will keep you in Mashiach, and Mashiach will keep you in Elohim, and therefore your soul will be preserved. It's very, very important, very, very vital. Nevertheless, let's look at him possessing the gates of his enemies. Revelation 11 and 17, and then we will spin our way to, Revelation chapter 3, and then, Revelation 2, and then Revelation 3, and it's over for the evening. Because the blessing was that her seed possessed the gate of their enemies. And then the blessing was that let your mother's brethren bow down to you, and let you be able to rule over your enemies. Nevertheless, this is 11 and 15. Book of Revelation. And it says, and the seventh Malachim sounded, there was a great voices in Shamahim saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of Yahuwah and of his Mashiach, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before Elohim on their seats fell upon their faces and worshiped Elohim, saying, we give thanks, O Yahuwah Elohim Almighty, which art and was and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that they should give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the Kadeshim, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and should destroy them which destroy their wraths, which destroy the earth. So this man, he done came through, and he done took over. He now possesses the gates of his enemies. His seed does. Her seed does. This was the blessing. Remember, the Kadeshim coming with him. You're going to reign with him. If you suffer with it, you'll reign with him. This is what the book tells you. So, nevertheless, Revelation chapter 2. Verse 25. But that which you have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcome and keep my works unto the end, will I give power over the nations. He shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Abba. And I will give him the morning star. He'll give you life. You'll rule over your enemies. This is the blessing. You can read this same blessing in Psalm chapter 2. This is the blessing. This is the blessing. Going all the way back to Jacob. Because now let's look at Revelation 3 and 9. And let's take it to another level. Make it 3 and 7. Let's take it to another level. Because he said, let your mother's brother bow down to you. It's the same thing you've seen that with them bowing down to Joseph. The same thing when you've seen the apostles bowing down to Yahushua in the 28th chapter of Matthew. And to the Malachim of the synagogue in Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is Kadesh, he that is true, he that hath the key of Daoud, he that opened and no man shut, and shut and no man open. I know thy works, behold, I've set before thee an open door, no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Hashatan, which say they are Yahudim, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them come to worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. The blessing says, remember now, also Isaiah 45, which is quoted in Philippians chapter 2, that every knee should bow and every tongue should confess, because the blessing of the Mashiach is that let your mother's brethren bow down unto you, and bow down they will. But then he also promised unto you, to those who say they are Yahudim and are not, but do lie, those who say they are circumcised in the heart, but are liars. He said that he will make them come and bow down unto you, that you may receive the same inheritance and blessing that was bestowed upon him. Because you got to remember, Esau came and bowed down to Jacob too. But we'll look at that on another time. But you think about that. The same people who cursed your name as evil, the same people who removed themselves from your company, the same people who will persecute you and kill you and slay you. This man said, I will make them come to bow down at your feet. Listen what he said now. And worship before thy feet. So you know that he loved you because you loved him, because he loved you first. But nevertheless, hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. We will stop right there for the evening. I hope everybody understood all this evening. If anybody got